10 years ago, as I was preparing to emigrate here to Texas, a certain internet talk show was being spooled up, and little did I know that our fates were intertwined. Now we enter the 10th season of Talk Heathen. We're in a very different world from the one that I emigrated in. And we find ourselves on the front lines of a fight against a certain type of pervasive conservative Christian nationalism. With things like Project 2025, the dismantling of the Department of Education, the repealing of Roe, all the way up to the cutting of childcare assistances very recently, it's quite clear that the separation of government and religion is massively at risk, and that the powerful are using Christian dogma to try and force families into a certain set of roles. Kept hungry, uneducated and desperate, the father must go out into the world and work all hours to make ends meet while the mother stays home as part nursemaid, part incubator, part housemaid. Slaves, obey your masters, as the Bible says. But if you think that this isn't happening, or if you think that it would be good if it did, then we would like to talk to you, because the show starts now.
All right. Welcome, everybody. Today is January 4th in 2026. I'm your host, Scott Dickie, and joining me today is Jamie, the blind Limey, the blindest Limey you'll ever see. Jamie, how you doing today?
I won't see you. Anyway, I'm doing surprisingly well. We were talking in the green room beforehand that despite the world being kind of sort of all on fire all the time, I've found solace and comfort in the connection and generosity of friends and family, especially over the holiday period. So I am fiery today. You're getting feisty, right, Jamie. But also, I think we wanted to sort of discuss togetherness and connection as well. And I'm completely down for that too.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll definitely be diving into that a little bit today. And just a reminder to everybody, Talk Heathen is a live call-in show, and we have open lines right now. So if you want to talk to us, you can get your calls in at 512-991-9242, or you can call from your computer at tiny.cc/callth, or as Richard Gilliver would say, call TH. So we air live every Sunday at 1 p.m. on YouTube. But remember, if you can't make it for whatever reason, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. Of course, we'll be forever entrenched in YouTube for all eternity and for forevermore. So wherever you get your podcasts or Patreon or whatever, Talk Heathen is a production of the Atheist Community of Austin, a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to the promotion of atheism, critical thinking, secular humanism, and the separation of religion and government. And in case you're wondering, how the heck does Scott and Jamie put all this together, just the two of them? Well, the answer is we don't. We're just the ones that are on the screen right now. We actually have a host of people backing us up and supporting us and bringing the show to you. Let's pull up that crew cam right there. There we go. Look at those beautiful people there. Thank you to all the video people, the audio people, moderators, notes and stamps, and the call screeners as well. And today, it appears that we are highlighting a particular crew/host member. We want to highlight our backup host today, Kelly Laughlin. Let's bring Kelly up real briefly here. Kelly is a frequent backup host on Talk Heathen and on the Atheist Experience, and a regular host on Truth Wanted every Friday night at 7 p.m. Central?
7 p.m. Central.
Yeah. So how are you doing, Kelly? How's your holidays been?
You know what? My holiday was not that great. I got really sick. My pet died. And on top of all that, all this hair grew out of my face. So I was...
Maybe it's the Santa Claus, right? Maybe you are Santa, and that was, your body was trying to, get you into Santa mode there.
I feel like I'm back on track and ready to start a new year, and hopefully this will be a great year. for everyone.
Good. Yeah, I agree. We're all keeping our fingers crossed that 2026 is a good year. And you know what, Kelly, as long as we got you up here, I wanted to talk to you about something that I saw you post on social media. You said it was your hopes and dreams for the year 2026. Why don't you share us a little bit about what you were kind of getting at with that?
I am on a personal crusade to make 2026 the year of caring. And I just want everybody to go out there and care about the people around them, especially the people that are right in your own neighborhood, because there's a lot of people out there that need help and need somebody to reach out to them. And I think the world would be a better place if we just did that, just started,
I agree.
Caring about others.
I agree totally. I'm all about the love as well, and I'm wearing my my Pink Floyd "Us and Them" T-shirt today. "Us and Them," of course, is a Pink Floyd song originally about war, but it's also about these arbitrary walls that we put up between us and other people. When we talk a lot about the us versus them mentality, where we have our little core group here, and we're we're separating ourselves. But I like the way that they phrase the title of the song is "Us and Them." And so in what you were talking about, that sense of togetherness and that sense of caring, I want to challenge everybody out there to, at some point this year, and as often as you can, actually take a moment to try to make a connection with a them. Okay, so it's easy making connections with us. It's easy making connections with people who you view to be on your side, but try to make a connection. Let's try to close that gap. I mean, regardless of what side of any of these recent topics that come up, regardless of what side, quote unquote, you consider yourself to be on, there are all commonalities between us. We need to rely on each other. We need to depend on each other. We need to care about each other. So I want to challenge everyone to reach out to somebody that's different from you, that has a different opinion than you. Try to make an effort to understand them as a human being and make a connection. And maybe you can, find some way to increase the love and the caring in the world today. Jamie, what are your thoughts on that? Let's get us all chime in here.
That's kind of how we want to progress with the show, with Talk Heathen as a show, in that we want to be as welcoming as possible, at least, to encourage people to call, even if you have differing opinions from ours. And we will try our absolute best to take you seriously and give you a chance to convince us of your side. And we want to try and convince you of our side, not because we want to win, not because we like winning the argument. It's that we truly believe that these things that we hold dear to ourselves are the correct thing. And we might be wrong. Like, we could always be wrong. But having that conversation rather than that argument, and making those connections with people who differ from us, and trying to at least find some common ground, I think it is a worthwhile thing to do. Now, I will also caveat that there are certain lines that some people cross, certain things that they espouse that are very difficult to forgive, and it's different for every person. So while I will absolutely echo the sentiment, Scott, of wanting to try and reach out to someone who may oppose you on certain things or have a difference of opinion, or even in some ways be seen as an adversary, I would not want to engender a sense of guilt over people who feel that they aren't comfortable having those conversations on certain topics.
Well, for sure.
They're just too close to the topic.
Right. There's reaching out to somebody. The challenge is not to reach out to everybody and to just lay yourself out there. Right. We need to take baby steps. Right. We need to maintain our own sense of self, our own sense of security, our own sense of our own morality and that kind of thing. When we do this kind of reaching out, but yeah, we don't want to. We need to take care of ourselves as well. Kelly, what do you think? Give me some specific examples. What do you think somebody could? One of our listeners, what can they do specifically to kind of pursue this goal that you're throwing out there for us?
I can give an example of something I did the week before I got sick. I was at our local grocery store, and I seen a little. Older gentleman, maybe 15, 20 years older than I was. And he had walked to the store with his walker. I don't think he owned a car. And as I was walking out of the store, I seen him walking down the street, trying to hold his groceries, walk with his walker. And I pulled my car up next to him and asked him if he needed a ride and gave him a ride home. So that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. You talked about reaching out to people who are different from you. And I think if you do that more and more, you find out those people really aren't that much different than you in the long run. So
definitely spot on there, Kelly. And so Jamie, what do you think? What is something specific that you've either done or that somebody could do to kind of promote this sense of oneness, of us and them rather than us versus them?
I'm a big fan of like random acts of small kindness. Recently, I was at a gas station picking up some snacks and drinks, and the guy in front of me was short on his fuel. Couldn't quite pay the amount that he put into his car, and he was kind of panicking. So it was only $15, so I just bought his gas for him because I could. And it's that little thing of, here is a person who it is a bagatelle. It is a trivial thing for me to help them, and it's at very little cost to myself. So why don't I do that? There's no reason not to do that, and that little thing of like taking every opportunity that you are presented to improve the life of someone, not expecting even thanks, let alone reward or recompense.
Right.
That plays into another part of our mission, which is humanism. We want human flourishing. That's what we want. So be the change you want to see. Be kind. Assist people. Help people. Even in small ways, like do one small kind thing a day if you can, to people you know or people you don't. And like you say, become familiar with the people in your community. I mean, we have a bit of an advantage having the Free Thought Library here, so I get to meet people here. But your neighbours, the people around you, the people that work at your local shops, have a conversation with the retail staff and treat them like people rather than props. These kinds of things. I think it all as a cumulative effort, goes a long way to making the world more bearable and livable.
Yeah, I like that phrase you used at the end there, cumulative effort. I mean, that really highlights the idea that you don't have to change the world yourself, right? It's not you're not going to fix everything with your own efforts just all by yourself. But if we all chip in a little bit and we all contribute, then as a cumulative effect, we can make a difference. I just want to make a note here. We're waiting for some theists to call in, but while we're waiting, all you atheists out there, if you want to call in and talk to us about things that we can do to increase the love in the world, increase the togetherness in the world, and things that we can do to break down that divide between the us versus them, please call in. We'd love to talk to you. Those of you on the chat, I see some conversations happening in the chat there. So if you want to call in and share your ideas with us, now would be a good time to do that while we're waiting for some theists to call in. I really like that idea, Jamie, of it doesn't really take, we don't have to change it overnight, and we don't have to do it all ourselves. I really strongly agree with your philosophy there. From my perspective, I feel like, if a small effort on my part can make a huge difference in somebody else's life, then, I'm happy to do it. If me, like you said, picking up somebody's gas when you're able, or, just helping somebody load their groceries into their car, or, helping somebody change a flat tire on the side of the road, there's little things that you can do just to, increase the togetherness, increase the sense of love throughout the world. And that can add up. And even if you don't see any immediate results, just knowing that you're making the world a little bit of a better place can make a big difference, I think.
Yeah.
And here's the thing too. And I say this all the time. I'm a selfish altruist, because when I go out there and I do something good for somebody and put a smile on their face, I'm making the world a better place for me too. So when you go out there and try to help other people, think about that you really are kind of helping yourself out in a way as well. So That's a good reason to be a selfish altruist.
Oh, I'm an absolute mercenary. Like there is an intrinsic joy I find in helping people that is just entirely selfish. I mean, it's a good job that I'm not a sociopath because I'd be terrible. So I enjoy helping people. I enjoy it for its own sake, and I can self-affirm that I've done a good thing and I'm a good boy. And so there is always a selfish part to it. I don't think there is ever such a thing as true altruism, because we do get something out of these kinds of interactions, either an extrinsic improvement in the world that we can also enjoy, or just an intrinsic knowledge that we've done a good thing, and no one else need know about it. We can just content ourselves to that.
Right. It would almost be impossible to be truly altruistic. I mean, you would have to be blissfully unaware of the effects of what you're doing. And you'd have to be, completely isolated and insulated from the effects of what you're seeing. And so for every little bit of, but it is in our best interest. It just so happens that doing a good thing in this case is overall in our best interest. Like I said, every little bit we do to change the world makes the world that we live in, that our loved ones live in, that our friends live in, that that our families live in, a little bit better. And I think that I like that selfish altruism. I like the way that it's phrased there, because you really are helping yourself. I mean, it's not completely altruistic, but you're doing it via the tool of making life better for others. And I really want to dive in deeply into the evolution of all of this stuff. And but do either of you have anything else you want to add before we maybe dive deeper into a little some of that?
Just maybe reiterate again that it like you were saying, it's all connected and we're all in this together. And like a Mahayana Buddhist might say, we can't get there unless we all go together. So.
Right. Yeah. It's like a sink or swim together. The rising tide raises all ships. I definitely agree with that too. But touching on the evolution aspect of it, you can see, I mean, that's something that we see as atheists. We hear theists bring that up sometimes. Isn't evolution based on selfishness? Isn't it based on short-term goal acquisition? Isn't it based on making conditions best for your own offspring? And but societies can evolve as well. I mean, if a society that evolves to take care of each other, it takes a little bit more effort of you helping to take care of everybody else, but then you also have your whole village helping to take care of you. And so so that kind of thing, we can definitely see some evolution rearing its head there in this idea of this selfish altruism. Yeah, you can do that, but societies that help each other end up better off themselves. If I make the world a better place, then my daughter, my son, my wife, my loved ones, they're going to be living in that world.
Yeah. I mean, it's evolutionarily, it's part of our makeup. I mean, you can see it in how we evolved into, like, our main ways of getting food are almost always entirely cooperative. We are what's the term? We are attrition hunters. We wear down our target and tire it out to take it down as a group. You can't do that alone. You have to go as a hunting party. We do agriculture. We do food storage and food preservation. These are all things that cannot really be done alone. And so, as much as I can admire, and this is kind of like a little cultural thing, and I've said it before, that rugged individualism is held up as a good thing here in America. The pioneer spirit, the self-made man, etc., etc. Kelly was quoting Heinlein to us before the show about all the things a man should be able to do, or a human should be able to do themselves. But I think it's a double-edged sword, because it means that people feel that they are weak if they ask for help, or weak if they engage in cooperation, that they can't do something all on their own. And that turns into not seeking help when you need it, or not being willing to give help when it's asked for. And it's just, it frustrates me massively that something that can cause people to be very selfless and philanthropic and giving of themselves can also just make people insular and selfish and closed off and antithetical to the way that we're built as a society to help each other. Collectivism, yeah.
So, Jamie, you're not originally an American.
No.
Is that view of that different outside of the United States? Is because, I mean, you said rugged individualism here, and it seems like Americans view leaning on someone else almost as a negative, and so is that the same like worldwide, or would you say that's uniquely an American thing?
I mean, I can only comment on like America versus the UK specifically. There are other countries that sway more individualistic, I'm sure, and other countries that sway more collectivist. For example, a lot of Eastern countries like Japan and China and Korea are quite collectivist. They society before self. England kind of falls in the middle. We are far more collectivist than the US. We have things like a more robust welfare state. We have an NHS. All of these things that came in after World War II to help the many as a collective thing. Not only that, but the religious propensity in the UK is very much, there are a lot of collectiveness. There's a lot of collectiveness in that as well. Of course, Christianity is big there, and Islam, but also Sikhism and Hinduism, and a lot of those. God, don't get on me. The Gurdwara. When you go to the Gurdwara every Saturday, they just have food just for free. Just come and have a meal, and it's just made by the community, and it's just a thing of the religion to just have a collective meal, and you don't have to be a believer to enjoy it. You don't have to be means tested. You just have to turn up in time before it all goes away, and you'll get yourself a nice plate of curried lentils and rice and a bit of flatbread, and it's lovely. So there are definite cultural through lines of collectivism in the UK. It also helps that we're all massively squashed together. Like, there's not much. The UK's tiny. It's smaller than Florida, and it's packed full of people, so you can't help but be around people, and you're forced to interact with people. Similar to like the Netherlands as well, they have a concept. There's concepts. What was it? Gezellig and gedogen, which is togetherness and community. And comfort. So, like, there's no such thing as absolute privacy because there's just not enough space to have it. So, yeah, right. I think there are certain cultures in Europe which are collectivist down to the bones.
We have just the opposite problem here, where we have way too much space, right? And this, even though I'm in Michigan, this was one of the last parts of mainland USA that was really settled. And the winters up here are an extra couple months longer. They're really harsh. And I think that, I mean, these are some of the, I'll be honest, I've traveled all over the US. These are some of the friendliest people I've ever met in my life, which is one of the reasons I live here. And I think it became inbred into these people because they were so isolated in the wintertime that they really relied on the guy in the log cabin next to them to get through the winter, you know? So, it's kind of strange, you know. You mentioned how you get all the people packed together, and in my case, just the opposite is kind of what made everybody nice to each other. So interesting, though, right?
Yeah.
So you're saying that the harsh climate and weather kind of forced people into a situation where they were more reliant on each other, and
right, and the isolation too. Like, I remember reading a story about one small mining town that was starving basically in the middle of winter, and a ship showed up with some potatoes, and not enough potatoes to get everybody through the winter, but everybody got together and they actually doled out, you know, some to each person in the village for, you know, so that everybody had enough to eat for as long as possible. So, and no fighting. It's, hey, this is what we got to do. Let's all be nice and work it out, you know? So yeah, you know, the harsh conditions kind of helped it. So.
Right.
It does dishearten me when I go on things like social media and I see posts of people going like, you know, they're like jimmying up for a second civil war or whatever, and they're almost eager to just take all, like, I'll just take what I need, and I'm the alpha big dog, and I'm like, just why can't you be nice? Why can't you just be nice?
I don't understand what's the upside to some of those attitudes.
Something I like to remind those people is that most of the people who died in the Civil War didn't die on a battlefield.
Yeah, indeed. And
they died of disease and starvation because of the war. So
right, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So I just want to remind everyone out there, we have our lines are open. You can call us at 512-991-9242 or on your computer at tiny.cc/callth. And so if you want to join our discussion here, we're talking about this idea of togetherness and perhaps potential motivations. I'm about to ask our hosts how we can make a connection then to this idea of togetherness to that of religion. And so if you're an atheist or if you're a theist and you're watching this and you want to chime in on this discussion, I'm about to ask Kelly and Jamie whether or not they think religion contributes or hinders our sense of togetherness and our ability to help each other and to love each other. So if you have an opinion on that, please call in. We'd love to hear from you, from theist or otherwise. How do you think religion affects that? So I'll turn to the two of you. We'll go to Kelly first. What do you think? How does religion hinder this togetherness that we're talking about, or does it help, or does it a little bit of both, or what are your thoughts there?
And it, like on a micro level, I think it helps, right? Because people who are often theists, they go to church every Sunday. They do have this sense of morality that they seem to think is superior than anybody else's sense of morality, but they do have this sense of morality, and they do care about the people within their church community. There's a lot of togetherness there. Mm-hmm. However, when you look at it on the macrocosm, I mean, how many wars have started because people didn't agree on the religion? So
right. So are you saying that you think religion is a tool there, and it's used by some people productively and some people harmfully, or what do you think? Yeah.
Sure, I think a lot of it's dependent on a person's motivations. Though the Crusaders' motivation, whether the crusade is good or bad. I'm just using crusade as a word of getting people motivated to do something, right?
Right. Well, Jamie, let's build on what Kelly was saying then. And so he's saying that if we can look at religion as a tool. Do you think, Jamie, that that's an effective tool for doing that kind of thing, or does it have baggage that makes it not worth it? I mean, what are your thoughts there?
So I have complicated feelings around this, especially since I've been in this kind of game of talking about religion, being a face of atheism, that kind of thing. And generally not liking or like certain aspects that are shared by all organized religion, because one, they're all based on falsehood, or at least an assumption of something that can't be proven. Mm-hmm. And secondly, the thing that really gets me with a lot of them, and not all, as I say, I just mentioned, going down a good wire for a free bit of curry, regardless of your faith, but it tends to be community with caveats. Like, you get to be part of this community, you get to have this support so long as you toe the line. Mm-hmm. Don't step out of line lest you be ostracized. And the extreme version of that is that this religion was your only support structure, and now it's cut off from you. You are truly alone. So right. It's by degrees. Religion as a concept is not a monolith. In fact, it is notoriously fractured and fragmented. But many of the major ones, the ones that most people in the Western world, in America and Europe, ascribe to, tend to be have that double-edged sword of community versus tribalism. And as we discussed on a previous episode of the Non-Profits. And so I would say that there are better alternatives, but if it's the only tool you've got to hand and it's better than nothing, I would happily say yeah. And I have stood arm in arm with religious people to sort of fight the good fight for things like human rights, and happy to do so. But I would, again, still question their epistemology. I would question their reasons for faith. And I would be very leery of help given with one hand, expecting obedience with the other. Like, do what you're told, or you don't get the sandwich. That's my worry about it.
Do you think that's an intentional thing, that here you go, but there's also this other thing with it? It's kind of like, here's the carrot, but the stick is coming right behind it. Do you think that's an intentional thing, or do you think that's just something, because it might be something that we just happen to notice more often because we're atheists?
Maybe.
And it might be just in our imagination, or do you think that that's something that's a legitimate problem? Do you think it's baked into religion, and before you answer here, I do want to acknowledge we got Ann on in the queue, and so we'll be bringing up Ann shortly. But I just want to hear your thoughts on that first before we do that, Jamie.
In brief, let me tell you a quick story. I was at my lowest ebb, insert voice here, and then I found Jesus, and I'm like, if it wasn't a coercion, if it wasn't a way to swell the ranks and consolidate power, those kinds of stories would not be as common as they are. Because I do, and again, we're talking about togetherness, but I can't stop putting my cynical hat on. When I see these stories, it's like, you're preying on the vulnerable. You're offering them something that they need in exchange for fealty. And that just rubs them up the wrong way.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that makes sense. Let's bring in Ann here. So we have Ann from California, she, her. Ann is listed. Wait, did I click it? There we go. Okay. So we have Ann on the line here. Ann, can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can.
All right. So it says here you think that religion is not good for togetherness. And so can you expand on that a little bit for us?
Yeah, I always get tongue-tied when I want to talk about a topic. I guess my thing is, people can be good without religion, obviously. But I just feel like religion, and you guys are really just talking about it right now quite a bit. It puts conditions on help, and I'm not saying for everyone. I mean, there are like religious organizations that might have, one part that will probably give help for free and not ask for anything in return, but too many of them do, because you see when like they go to these countries where people don't have much, and they're missionaries, and it becomes very religious in those places, I think. But it's like, we'll give you some food, but you got to listen to a sermon or join us in a prayer or whatever it is. And it's also very exclusionary. Like, well, we're not going to help you, if you're not the right kind of a person, like if you're gay, if you're trans, if you're,
okay.
It's very exclusionary. It pushes a lot of people out.
So are you saying that religion is presented as if it were a tool that will bring us together, but ultimately it inserts specific types of us versus them mentality, or is that?
Yeah, they're like, it's like they're the in group, and they decide, who gets to, get help and or doesn't, or gosh, there's so much.
Well, I suppose what could be more, what could be a stronger way of having an us versus them mentality by saying we are the chosen of God and you are not. I mean, that seems like a pretty big divide there that's imposed by religious. And do you have any? I don't want to dig too deep and let me know if I'm asking too much of you, but I'm curious as to what was your history, as far as your religious history. Did you start out religious and then become an atheist, or have you always been an atheist? And do you have specific experiences similar to what you're describing here? Or is this more just your observations?
Well, a lot of it is my observations. Although, I was raised in the Catholic Church.
Okay.
I was baptized, communion, all that stuff. Well, I believe because I was taught to believe, and I didn't know any other way. Like, the possibility that there could be no gods didn't quite occur to me. But while I was being raised in that religion, all kinds of questions popped up into my head that I just couldn't, like, there was just things that were not making sense at all to me, and they never could. And I was, I was reluctant to ask questions.
Yeah.
Because I thought, they would see me, as bad for even questioning. But, and then if I did ask, they would say, well, that's just a story. It happened. So, like
just got to have faith. It's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Faith. It's all about faith. And like the death and resurrection of Jesus.
Right.
I'm sorry, I couldn't make that make sense. I couldn't understand why when they were doing the communion prep, they would take the host and say, this is my body. And then they'd raise a cup of wine or juice or whatever it was, say, this is my blood. I'm like, we're eating Jesus's body and drinking his blood?
Yeah, that is kind of sus a little bit, I think there.
Yeah. I mean, I just couldn't get behind it. And then it kind of stopped making sense. It never really totally made sense to me. I mean, I never even heard the word atheist until I watched an old rerun of All in the Family when I was like 10 or 11 years old. And oh, a person who doesn't believe in God is an atheist. Okay, there's a name for it,
So it seems like that early on for you, that sense of togetherness was almost weaponized against you. Like, oh, you're part of our group. We love you. We want to be together with you. But if you don't agree with this, then you're going to be put on the outside, right? Then you're going to be separated. And I don't know. To me, that seems, first of all, that seems contrary to the purported message, right, of that religion. It seems to go against the stated goal of that, and that is that, or at least from my perspective, the idea that God is love and togetherness and happiness and so forth. But it seems like that separation, that threat of, well, if you stay with us, we have all these bonuses, and you can select from this list of toys and so on. But if you don't, then you're on your own, kind of thing. And it seems like that weaponization really kind of gets my skeptic sense going, right? It seems like, if you're gonna say that it's all about love, then having all these conditions seems to go against us. Jamie, what are your thoughts on that?
And it's not just the overt weaponization that worries me. It's the fact that all acts of togetherness in a religious context are ultimately for the veneration of their chosen deity or deities. It's all in the glory of God or whatever. And you think, well, what's wrong with that? But it's that subtle propaganda, and it's everywhere, and it's so normalized you don't even realize it. And if you want to realize it, think hard about how many hospitals are named after saints, because religion got in on the whole healthcare thing very strongly in the beginning, which was, again, a good thing in terms of people need healthcare. But it then came with caveats back then, and it may not come with as many now, although it still does. It means that every time you step through the doors of, Ascension St. David's here in Austin, you are, by that very act, thanking St. David and his ascension, I guess, for the healthcare you're about to receive. Right. And that coming from a place that had socialized healthcare, and we had old hospitals that were named after saints and stuff as well. But the hospital I was born in was just called Dudley Road Hospital, and the hospital that I had my my thumb operations in was the Woodlands Orthopaedic Hospital and then Birmingham Children's Hospital. No Saints, no Marys, no none of that nonsense. And it was socialized, secularized, and therefore for everyone, not just Christians. I am an atheist. I'm not a Jew or a Muslim or a Sikh or Hindu or Buddhist. But if you are of one of those denominations, I wonder how galling it is to have to walk into a hospital named after venerating a religious figure from a religion you don't follow. It kind of it would itch the back of my brain if I were in that situation, I believe.
It's a very subtle kind of separation right there. It's a kind of a subtle push away. You know, if you have a problem with coming to a hospital named St. Mary's or whatever, then we can't help you. You know, so it's like a very gentle, well, not maybe gentle, but like I said, a very subtle a nudge, a pushing away. Kelly, what do you think about that?
You know what I was thinking too? It kind of like kind of like makes this psychological monopoly on care, right? I can't get help and I can't get well unless I go to a place with God, right? So, yeah, it's not good.
Mm-hmm.
It's not good.
Yeah. And what are your thoughts? Are we kind of capturing your intended message here, or are we straying a little bit?
Yeah, pretty much. And you're adding things I hadn't really thought about, you know, like these hospitals named after saints. I got my open heart surgery at a hospital named St. Bernardine's, but I worry about religion in the hospital system, in the healthcare system, because, you know, this is the United States and our healthcare system is bad enough as it is and about to get worse. But I think sometimes, like if it's a Catholic hospital and a woman comes in and she's having a very distressful pregnancy and the only remedy, you know, to save her life is to abort the pregnancy, then, you know, like it's like they won't do it.
Mm.
That's a hidden negative in there as well, or maybe not so hidden. The idea that a hospital that is funded by a religious organization might be motivated to withhold care in some cases, and withhold care that is in the best interest of the patient, and so that can be frustrating as well, I think.
And the baffling juxtaposition of centers of scientific excellence, like medicine, is one of the highest forms of science for me. It helps the most people. It's amazing. It's continuously progressing, and fantastic. And yet, it is jutted right up against belief systems that eschew evidence, deny evidence, try evidence over faith. And I'm like, it's weird.
And there's this underlying idea that, you know, healing, or that being healed is miraculous, right?
Right, yeah, and not in fact just a biological event. Well, thanks so much, Ann. We really appreciate your call, and you gave us a lot of good food for thought there. So we thanks again for calling, Ann.
Yeah,
thanks. Have a good day.
All right, you too.
Yeah, have a good year, man. Don't stop it today.
All right, you too. All right, bye-bye.
All right, we have a theist caller in the queue here. Before we get into that, though, I want to crank out some quick announcements here. If you want to support the work that we do here, you can maybe become a channel member. Click the join button below the video here. You'll get custom chat emotes. Here's where I would normally bring up the fact that the host-based chat emotes are missing one notable host. So I'll just kind of throw that out there. I won't go into detail. But you get these custom chat emotes. You get early access to clips and shorts. And you'll be able to, of course, help perpetuate our mission of Talk Heathen and the atheist community of us in general. Also, super chats. Let's see. I haven't been checking super chats. We don't have any super chats coming in, but if you would like to give us a super chat, you can do so. That's a way that you can support Talk Heathen and the ACA in general. You can like the video. You can, of course, subscribe to the channel. You can share it and all that good stuff too. And you can also maybe consider becoming a patron at patreon.com. And we do want to take a moment to acknowledge some of our Patreon patrons today. Jamie, do you want to? Do you have that handy?
Yeah, let me just bring that up.
Why don't you read off our top patrons of the week?
So yeah, our patrons are wonderful people, and we have our top patrons coming up. I've lost it in the flipping document because I am the dumb, but I will find it. Here we go.
We'll cut you a little bit of slack, Jamie, the blind Limey.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
So we have in at number 1, Oops All Singularity. Number 2, Dingleberry Jackson. Wonderful, wonderful names. Number 3, Kalevi Helveti. You'd think after saying that name so many times, because they're such a staunch supporter, I'd get it right, but I never do. Then number 4, Carolyn Bagot. Bagot? Sorry, I've butchered your name. And then number 5 is just Scott.
All right.
But we have
not this Scott, but there are other Scotts in there in the movement as well. So thank you, Scott.
And we have a special honorable mention for Icon Oclast, which is
Icon Oclast. That's nice. I like that.
I think we did actually get a super chat. There seems to be one in the document. I don't know. We
have a super chat. I'm not sure if that's from last week or if that is new to this week, but I suppose we can mention it.
It's
the worst case scenario. Well, so it was Anne Christine, the Donut Fiend, for $5. Thank you for having me on the show. You guys are awesome. So we really appreciate that. Thanks so much, Anne Christine, the Donut Fiend. I, too, am a donut fiend. I'll have to admit that.
I believe that was
okay. So if you want to be a patron and help support us, you can go to tiny.cc/PatreonTH and support us that way. Now we have a theist caller in the queue here. We'll bring this person up. We are now talking to, if I can click there we go. So we have Kelly. Kelly's a theist. She, her pronouns, from the Pacific Northwest, which is one of my favorite parts of the United States of America. Kelly, can you hear us okay?
Indeed, I can. Good afternoon.
All right. Thank you so much for calling, Kelly. And you wanted to talk about an underdeveloped sense of inner control, self-control in theists. Now, can you kind of expand on that a little bit for us?
Sure. I'm a theist, and so I'm talking about my own personal experience.
Okay.
Just as an senior citizen, I guess you'd call me, in the Pacific Northwest. It was just recently that the light bulb went on with the true, clear thought of perhaps there not being a God, and it had just never really occurred to me in a way before that my mind could see it, for lack of a better way to describe it, and it just hit me like Zeus's thunderbolt. And so I've been thinking on those things and listening to atheist channels of different types for a few months now. So what I was referring to is, being a lady in her 60s, I have all of the skill set of an older, wiser person, great white ape, if you will, who's survived for 60 plus years on the planet. So suddenly getting the idea that self-control and determinism comes from within self, and having a lack of practice of self-control based on philosophical ethics. That's
So when you say,
very,
sorry to
very,
interrupt here, Kelly, when you say self-control, underdeveloped sense of self-control, are you saying that religion weakens a person's ability to execute and to exhibit self-control, or do you think the reverse is true? It aids them.
I think it inhibits them. At least that was the case for me. And it still is suddenly realizing that it's up to me, my autonomy, in making different decisions. And being that I was basically born into a life of being raised in a Christian system, everything was just handed to me of what reality is, how we behave, everything. And suddenly, in my 60s, all of that's gone, and just kind of clearly looking around and trying to fall back on all of the different philosophies I've studied, all of the different stuff. It kind of prepared me so it isn't so bad.
And not having that overarching judgment of like there's always someone watching, realizing that there isn't anyone watching and that you are entirely responsible for your own actions. What we would encourage, or I would encourage, is that you dig into your empathy, you dig into your own moral core, and do think to the thing that, yeah, you could do a bad thing, you could do the irresponsible thing, you could lose your self-control, but you'd know, and you'd always know, even if no one else knows. And that guilt of knowing that you've done something bad, because unless, again, you are some kind of sociopath, and if you are a moral person, and I believe that you are, then you are going to feel the weight of that guilt, and it will continue to dog at you. Some people can compartmentalize it, some people can dismiss it, but it's cumulative as well, that weight, and can go. So if you are feeling like you're having trouble dealing with situations where you would just go, well, I'm not going to do this thing because God wouldn't want me to, I would dig into your empathy. Like if I was the person on the other end of the consequences of this, how would I feel if I knew that this person had done this thing that may have been detrimental to me? That's how I go about it. I try and put myself in other people's shoes if I possibly can.
Yes. So I agree with you in most of what you said. I'm sorry, I'm not looking at the screen. I have, let's see, I have Scott, Kelly, and Jamie. Am I speaking to Scott or to Jamie?
I'm Jamie.
That was just Jamie. Jamie's the Limey. And so he'll be the most recognizable just from the voice. But yeah, I'm Scott, and that was just Jamie.
Okay.
I'm Kelly, the good-looking guy in the middle.
Kelly's the handsome bugger in the middle there. Yeah.
The one that knows how to sport a tie.
Definitely, yes, he is definitely the tie master. So Kelly, let me ask you. So you said you were raised Catholic, and you're still a theist now. Oh, I'm sorry. You're a theist now though? Is that? Oh, I'm sorry. That was Ann. My mistake. You're right. That was me. That was I dropped the ball on that one. You're not, but you are a theist now, though, right?
Yes. May I back up a minute on?
Absolutely.
Covered.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. When it comes, I was just merely trying to put out that I think it would be dangerous for all people of all religions that put forward a rigid moral framework. If all those peoples, including myself, lost all religion at the same time, I think the world would suffer greatly from violence, because many of the folks that fall into that category are not as fortunate as myself. they might only be 12 years old and have only heard, what how things are done from their village. They might be brainwashed and be 40 years old, and they are a good soldier. However, they've never had a chance to do anything but work, and it could be any scenario. And when a person is confronted with, oh my goodness, what about that time I was going to sue this person? What about that time I was going to spank my daddy for spanking me too hard when I was a child? That is an example. All of a sudden being hit with all of that at once can be very disorienting. So anyway, I don't know if any of that makes any sense. And you did have another question, sir.
No, actually, what you were just saying, I think, is kind of more related to what we were talking about before. Do you think that there is a sense of like a learned dependency in religion? I mean, like many religions will say things like, don't rely on your own understanding, just, rely on the word of God, or don't worry about this, that, or the other thing, because you're more important than the sparrows, and you'll be taken care of. It's kind of a learned dependency. You don't have to worry about morality because we'll tell you what morality is. You don't need to worry about what you should do with your life because we'll tell you what to do with your life, that kind of thing. Is that what you mean when you said there's an underdeveloped sense of inner self-control? It's just like you learn to just adopt the strictures and the guidelines of the religion, or was it kind of something else?
Oh, that's a big question. I think what you said is correct, and I do believe that. I also think for many of us who are put in a position where suddenly religion is blown away like wind, and you're faced with reality of a different view. Unless you are prepared with a moral structure or an ethical structure, whether you're aware of it or not, unless you're prepared for that, it's possible that human beings go on overload. I mean, I think that's a pretty common theme, and I'm not speaking of myself. I'm hopefully being encouraging for any theists out there who are looking at the stark reality. I happen to think that nobody cares what I think. I understand that, but I view the theist in regards to how close they think they can communicate with a higher power, for lack of better words. And for me, I've never really been the type of theist who felt that the Lord communicated directly with me. So that has relieved me a lot of the burden of seeking that. And so that's kind of, now I'm feeling kind of like I'm wandering in the weeds. I'm not sure if I'm answering your question. I just appreciate your show. I appreciate the support that these theist shows, these atheist shows have given me in my first holiday, where I walked through it in this condition, and I feel wonderful in regards to that. It's a sad world. It's a sad day, but we are alive, and I'm ready.
Well,
come what may.
allow me to say a few things there, Kelly. Firstly, deconstruction is not easy for anybody, and it is a difficult
I'm sorry,
journey.
sir. I'm not hearing you well. Let me turn you up a little bit more. Forgive me just a minute.
No, apologies. Your deconstruction is not easy, and it can be a difficult journey, and it's quite individualized as well. I'd also like to say that we do appreciate your words. I mean, I can only speak for myself, but I care what you're saying because.
Ditto. I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah.
I care what you say too.
And I would like
Kelly doesn't though.
But I would like to. I would like to push back a little bit on a couple of points. Nothing major. Firstly,
yes, I'm sir. Oh my God! I'm sorry.
it's okay.
I just called you ma'am, and I didn't mean to.
I am adorable.
Please. You are. You're quite the doorbell. Please.
But the things I'd like to say is that there's a few assumptions that are made in that kind of outlook on, like, what if religion went away all of a sudden, all at once? That's unlikely, but let's, for the sake of argument, say that that's how it happens. I had my cynical hat on earlier. I'm going to put my optimistic hat on now. I'd like to give human nature a bit more credit. I think that while it may cause some people to go to excess, it may also just allow people to just continue as they are. They have an intrinsic. They're moral people. I think that people who ascribe to religious morality often are just moral people, but they don't give themselves the credit, and would continue to be moral even if they realise that there isn't a God to be had, because, as we were discussing earlier in the show, it's an advantageous thing. It's kind of like how we evolved to be. And secondly, the implication that it wouldn't make people more moral. I think there's some people in religions that are coerced into or convinced of immorality due to the dogmas they espouse, that were they to be freed from those dogmas, would become more moral, or be able to be more moral, their true moral self. I'm thinking of the kind of people who are in more fundamentalist religious sects who part of it is exclusionary and somewhat hateful, where people would love to be supportive of, like, the LGBTQ community or trans community, or reach out to other religious people, or help single mothers, or be pro-choice and all this kind of stuff, but don't, for fear of ostracization that we were talking about, or for fear of punishment, that if they act on these actually moral things, that they will be punished because their God doesn't find it moral to allow people to live authentically. So I think it's a more nuanced possibility than others. And while, yes, being prepared for that kind of thing is definitely an advantage, I don't think it would immediately like plunge the world into anarchy and chaos. Personally, I'd like to give the human race a bit more credit than that.
Well,
yeah, Kelly Laughlin, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that if religion was yanked away, do you think we would devolve into chaos?
I actually wanted to make a comment on that when it was first said. I was wondering, Kelly, what makes you jump right to the idea that people would get violent? And not that I'm saying you're wrong. I'm just wondering where you think that idea came from, and is it possible that maybe it's just one more of those things that religion taught you that might not be true?
No, Kelly. It's my life experiences in my profession. I'm a retired veteran, and I am quite familiar with this aspect of human beings.
Well, the reason I'm bringing this up is because we actually have data on this. We have societies that are way more secular than our own. Sweden, Finland, Norway, Japan. And these societies have way less violence than we have as well. So, I mean, statistically, we're actually finding out that just the opposite is true. The more we give up religion, the less violent our society becomes.
Oh, I think I was misunderstood somehow. I didn't, if I said that now I'm all confused. Maybe I should just let things rest.
It's okay.
Like I said, I don't think you said anything wrong or anything. Don't feel like I'm jumping on your case about it. And the reason, actually, one of the main reasons I brought it up is because at the time, several people in the text chat that are following the show brought it up as well. So I just wanted to like bring it up and kind of clear the air on that one. Maybe come to a better understanding between us if there was a miscommunication.
Yes, I'm yes, I'm not looking at chat. I'm just talking on the phone because I knew I wouldn't be able to, that I would be distracted, and I'm unafraid of sharing this portion of myself with the community. So it's all cool.
Well, I appreciate that you're being so open. I actually.
Only what you're comfortable with. And maybe I can try and steel man the point. I think the pushback on that one would be that, yes, those societies are more secular and less religious, but they didn't turn their religion off suddenly. They went through a long process of becoming more secularized over years and centuries. So I think it might be sort of a bit of a false equivalence. I think the worry is that if someone who is religious today suddenly is disabused of that knowledge tomorrow, what do they then become?
Yes, and if I may add a caveat on that whole thing about my perception of the fallback position of the violent human is just a personal experience, and certainly doesn't relate to the Pacific Northwest or the military or anything. It just has to do with the training that puts these thoughts uppermost in your mind, that a human being must contend with, such as if I was a florist, I'd be, as retired, I'd be thinking of pretty ways to put together bouquets, you know. But anyway,
Kelly, I just want to ask you, first of all, I really appreciate you calling in and talking with us. You seem very generous with your time and you're sharing your own personal story. And so I really appreciate that. And I also appreciate the fact that you, even though you claim that that you are a theist, that you were interested in exploring ideas with us and talking to us. And I think that that's something that is it's very missing. We were talking earlier in the show about how people put up walls between themselves and other groups. And I think one of the ways that they do that is to shut down communication, and you know, we can even find that thing in holy books, right? Don't talk to the heathen, don't talk to the infidel, you know, they're of the devil or whatever. And so I really, really appreciate it. And I really enjoy calls like this, where we have somebody that fundamentally disagrees with us but still has the desire to call in and have a conversation. So I just want to make sure, Kelly, that we get that thank you out there. I really appreciate that you called in. Would you be interested in maybe examining your religious beliefs a little bit closer with us, even though if it strays a little bit from what you initially intended to talk about?
Certainly.
Okay. I'm just curious as to how you're at where you're at. So you've talked about your beliefs in a God. You shunned the idea that you were a Catholic, which is fine. And so clearly there's some mixed perceptions of reality or of religion in your mind there. You know, you perceive, so obviously Catholicism stands for something in your mind, and then your approach to your God
no, it does not.
is definitely different. It doesn't. Okay, no. Then please expand on that then.
Yes, forgive the interruption.
Oh no, please. If I'm getting something wrong about you, I want you to correct me. So I'd rather be right.
Well, I was just going to say, I never mentioned Catholicism.
Yes, that was my mistake for bringing that up. I apologize for that.
That's okay. It's just a very, very different religious framework than many other, if you will, Christian denominations, as you know. And I just wanted to be clear that that is not my background. Also, if I may, my fallback position, pardon the terminology, my fallback position as I'm deconstructing is a presupposition for God when I get, or God or Zeus or whatever is unoffensive here. I just have a fallback presupposition of God when I get overwhelmed, because that's what I come from. As far as my personal background, I've just read the Bible since my earliest years. My father taught me his vision of what God was in the form of just trying to explain the word, quote, forever to me. And that got my little mind going when I was 3. And being raised in the United States, there's a Baptist / Jehovah's Witness / Bible student foundation that has followed me most of my life, but I've never been a churchgoer to any degree. So I've always kind of been ostracized and shunned because I think it's okay to say I'm a skeptic. I think that's okay. And
it is okay to say that.
Huh?
It's just it is okay to say that.
Yes,
Don't worry about what anybody
yes.
else thinks about it. It is okay for you to say that.
Right.
Okay. And then went to AA for many, many years, and so all of that influence of, other human beings regimenting the mind to survive the current crisis is something I've witnessed for my entire life. So I don't know if that's helpful.
Gives us some context, and thank you very much for sharing that. So you say that your fallback position is on a presuppositional position for God. I personally get a little bit leery by the word presuppositionalist God because we've encountered, you may have seen this on the shows, where people come in with presuppositionalist arguments for God, and they can be somewhat difficult to deal with. And I'm not going to assume anything about what you mean by a presupposition of God. I would like to ask one question. This is not a gotcha. There's no wrong answer.
Bring it.
Do you want?
Ooh, I love that. I love the attitude, Kelly. By the way, I love it. Awesome.
Do you want there to be a God?
My feelings right now are, quote, there better be, unquote, because the world's so terrifying right now to me in regards to our species surviving. Can't do anything about an asteroid, but I would really like our I know we're not our species to continue on, and
so are you saying that you feel like humanity is kind of driving itself into the toilet, and so you're hoping that there's a God there to save us at the end? Is that kind of the impression that I'm getting here? That we're messing things up enough on our own. Hopefully there's a parental figure that can correct us, kind of a thing.
Well, I have to admit I was being a little facetious. That's why I put it in quotes so that you didn't think I was coming at you with, my chin out, like there better be. No, it's just, I'm just dismayed at the lack of cooperation amongst us as a collective peoples right now.
Right.
Well, there's a couple of things that I would advise, and you can just completely ignore me because I'm just some bloke on the internet. You don't have to take any advice from me. But there's a couple of things. One, there are so many issues that have beset the human race as it's been, the human species as our development. Things that were existential threats and were horrifically harming to us. But we don't fear things like the Black Plague anymore. We don't fear things like polio. We don't fear things like, we fear them, but we can deal with things like earthquakes and typhoons and hurricanes because of our ingenuity. And so right now, I actually think there are certain plans in place that could potentially divert an asteroid. Not 100% effective, but better than nothing. So where that faith...
The ones that involve Bruce Willis, I think, will be the most effective.
Yeah. But where that word faith lived in your mind, I would take it one step to the left and change it to hope. Hope is quite a lot like religious faith. It is the wishing for an outcome without any certainty. But I think that it's, as long as you recognise that it is just a hope for the future, to want things to be better, and use it as a motivation to find the solutions and to be part of the solution. That even though it is an irrational thought, hope is irrational by its very nature. It is, I think, valuable, and much like that other four-letter word, love, has far too few letters for how important it is. You disagree? Okay. Yeah.
I disagree with hope being irrational.
Okay. How so?
Well,
do you mean in general, or do you mean in this specific case?
Well, I guess I need to go back to college. I don't think I'm gonna.
I'd just like you to have your say, basically.
Yeah, please do.
Okay.
Can I say something totally off topic first? Kelly, you and I have been talking to each other in text. It's great to listen to hear your voice and actually talk instead of texting each other. But I love the journey you're on, and you're doing a damn good job at it. I just had to say that. So,
thanks, Kelly. I really enjoy being a part of the solution and not part of the problem. That's cool. Or I hope so.
I think you are. I think you're doing a good job.
Yeah. So the rationality of hope. How is hope rational?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, hope. Hope. I disagree because I see it as in the same category as faith, which I see in the same category as survival instinct. But I can't scientifically say the right words to explain it any better than that.
Okay, that's fair enough. But the way I see it, and this is not me saying that you should see it this way, is that faith, as it's often portrayed to us in a religious context, is the Hebrew style, the evidence of that unseen, which usually translates to believing things without any good reason or any evidence for it. That's a truth claim. So I think this is the case, is faith. That kind of faith. Then there's the faith which is synonymous with trust. I have faith in this thing. I have faith that this chair won't collapse underneath me, or that Scott will run another fantastic D&D game for us at some point in the near future, and these kinds of things. That's trust, and that is evidenced belief for me, or at least a rational assumption of a potential outcome. But hope is like faith. I don't have any evidence that this outcome will happen, but I'm not declaring that it will or is. I'm just going to hope. I just want it to be that way, And I feel it's more proactive, even though that's what I mean by irrationality. It's the lack of evidence of something being the case. And to believe that it's going to happen, although, yeah, I may take your point, because by being introspective enough to realise that you have no evidence for a particular outcome as much as you would like it to be the case, it then becomes rational, I guess. Yeah, I take your point there. I take your point there, Kelly. Good point, well made.
Well, I'm new to all this, and my little mind is tired.
Okay.
I think that's about all I can handle. I really appreciate.
Okay. All right. Well, I think this would be a good place for us to wrap up the call then. Kelly, I just want to say that I agree with Kelly Laughlin here, and that I think that I really enjoyed having the discussion. I loved that you shared a little peek into your brain. For me, that's my main curiosity in life is learning how do other people do it? How do other people work? And I just love learning about how people are thinking. And so that was very generous of you to share that with us, and kind of risky too. So you kind of put yourself out there. So that was really awesome. I really appreciate that attitude and that effort. And so thanks so much for the call, Kelly.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Kelly. And like I said, it was great actually talking to you instead of typing at you. So, and honestly, you're becoming one of my favorite Kellys. So,
ooh, boy, that's a very exclusive list.
Kellys are neato bonito.
Kelly, yes, I pretty much like every Kelly that I've met too. So thanks so much for your call, Kelly. Hopefully, we'll get a chance to talk to you again in the future. All right. Awesome. And speaking of Kellys, I saw we had a super chat come in while we were talking there. And this one is from Detroit Atheist Queen 247. She's giving us $4.99. So 1 penny less than what Ann gave us before. $4.99, 3 great hosts, 1 great show. So yeah, so I had the wonderful opportunity of meeting the Detroit Atheist Queen 247 this past summer, and she's a wonderful person. And so
I was going to say she's up there on my list of good Kellys too. So
she's definitely on the list of good Kellys. So thank you so much for that donation. And I was also informed that the super chat that we read earlier from Ann was from last week. Oh. And so I don't know, by my calculations, I think Ann owes us another $5. Isn't that how that works?
Come on, Scott, have a little class.
I don't know. I think that's how I'm new. I'm still new, right? I'm still the new one. So, so maybe that. So guys, do you have any last words before we wrap up the show here about the how can we learn from what Kelly was sharing with us, from what Ann was sharing with us about how can we connect that to our goal of making human connections, about looking at similarities and breaking down that division between us and them.
The thing about that call that I liked the most, the thing that really I really liked, was that we both essentially said, I disagree with you, and it didn't turn into a fucking slanging match. It was a discussion. And that is the essence of communication and bringing disparate people together, because disagreeing, like, everyone has their own opinions on a lot of things and they don't always match up. I'm certain there's certain things that we would all disagree on. But it's being comfortable, engendering a environment that allows people to be comfortable to speak their mind, knowing that even if what they're saying is not generally agreed upon by the group, that they're not going to be immediately lambasted for it. And that is tricky in this space. I mean, we are known, the atheist community of Austin is known for producing decades worth of content where people call in, say what they believe, and they get the metaphorical brakes beaten off them by people who completely debunk their arguments. And that's worthwhile. I'm not saying that's something we shouldn't have done or shouldn't continue to do, because there's certain outlooks and thoughts that are not just disagreeable but actually abhorrent. But I think there is space for us to have these conversations more cordially and more respectfully, and not agree to disagree, but at least allow people to disagree with each other, and acknowledge that that we may have to try to find some middle ground or make concession for certain things. But anyway, what about you guys?
There is a way you can disagree with somebody to shut down the conversation, and then there's also ways you can disagree with somebody that encourage, explore that disagreement, explore that chasm between you, rather than just saying, that's it, I'm moving on. I'm shutting down. Kelly, what are your thoughts on that?
Saying, you know what, that's absolutely true. And one of the first steps about that is caring about the other person. Make 2026 the year of caring. Yes, definitely. That's a good way to finish that up. I want to, and again, I want to reiterate my challenge. Make a connection to somebody. Reach out to somebody. Understand them a little bit better than you did yesterday. Maybe have them understand you a little bit than they did yesterday. Kelly, I saw I interrupted you, so you want to finish your thought? No, I was just going to say, I wanted to say one other thing before we end the show. Okay. We are trying to get 100,000 subscribers, and I want to encourage everybody to do that. And we're only just a little over 2,000 away. And when it happens, I'm going to dye my hair Kelly green. So make me look even cooler than I do right now, and let me dye my hair green. So everybody, is that not a prize enough, right? Kelly will dye his hair green when we hit 100,000 subscribers. I'm not saying you should make up sock accounts and subscribe, but. but you're more than willing to plant that seed in somebody's brain as you deny it, right?
I love it, Mike. Maybe we can all come up with some challenge to this is what we'll do for the 100,000 celebration.
Right.
I'm willing.
So speaking of love, let's throw out some love rings there. Jamie, who do you want to send your love rings today to?
I'd like to send a love ring out to another Kelly. That's my sister. Kellys are awesome. And I know that a couple of my family members are watching right now. So shout outs to them. Shout outs to everyone who connected with me over the holidays. Friends, family, workmates, and even certain strangers that made it feel like this world is worth fighting for.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And I'll just throw this in there real quick. Recently, there's been a couple of moments in my life when I was struggling or when I was kind of stressed out, and just all it took was one person reaching out to me to make a connection, and that can make all the difference. Even friends that you haven't talked to in years, that can make a big difference in somebody's life. I've personally felt positive effects from that from others, and I hope to share that as well. So anybody out there who is making an attempt to connect to somebody, whether you know them or not, just to kind of, help each other out, you're getting my love rings today. Kelly, what about you? Who are you sending love rings to today?
It's specifically the people that really came to my aid over the last couple of weeks when I was really, really sick. Thank you so much, everybody that did that. And to everybody who does something like that for somebody they know or love. That's just helping take care of somebody is the best way you can show somebody that you love them. So
for sure. Us and them, not us versus them, right? And so to all of you out there, if you don't believe, well, this is your community. We appreciate you being here. We would really appreciate it if about 2,000 more of you would come so that Kelly can dye his hair green. But we're glad you're here. We're glad you're here. And if you don't believe, it's not that we hate you. We're just not convinced. All right. Thanks, everyone, for coming. We'll see you next time.
We want the truth. So watch Truth Wanted live Fridays at 7 p.m. Central. Call 512-991-9242 or visit tiny.cc/call TW.